Hello, my friends, colleagues, dear relatives. I'm bombarded with questions. How can we stop blood coagulation? Thrombosis occurring, especially because we are being frightened now through the misinformation centers about difficulty in breathing for people. You know, it's all connected to this evasive, non-existent pathogen. So let me explain a little bit about this coagulation. Blood has to have ability to coagulate, because with this it basically stops uncontrollable bleeding. If this would not be possible, then any minor injury could cause death. Now, what makes blood coagulate? We are told that in medical school that there are certain platelets in the blood that create this kind of a mesh that traps all other blood elements and forms coagulum. Well, yes and no. Because one thing is not being explained, which is the most important thing. And this is electromagnetism. Again, we are leaving domain of biochemistry, and we are searching for the answers in physics. We know that if you have magnet will have positive, what you call a negative. One is pushing, which is the magnetism, push, and one is pulling, which is actually gravitational field. We know that polarity exists in everything. As I explained about pH of our body, that is basically neutral, with this being extracellular liquid is slightly alkaline and intracellular slightly acidic. So you have polarity. Now when we go into energetic fields, the push and pull field, to have one you have to have the other. So in living organisms, you don't have one part of the body being positive and another part of the body negative externally. But polarity in living organisms is different. In living organisms, you have positive being on the outskirts, and gravitational, which pulls together, is on the inside. This means that every live creature, cell is a live creature, will be positive on the outside. Now the strength of this positivity depends on the force, electromagnetic force it has. And this force depends on voltage. So higher voltage you have, the more electromagnetic force you are going to have. More negative inside, positive on the outside. Many planets has the same polarity. They are positive on the outside, which means core is negative. Same should be with Earth, because it's a living organism. But it's not. Why? Because it was injured, it was sick. Now we see the shift of the pole. It's moving. Well, it was always moving, but bipolarly. Okay? One half was positive, one half was negative. Well, now this bipolarity of planet Earth is being cancelled. And we are going to go back into singularity, into health, with it being the surface being positive, the core being negative, being gravitational. When we are talking about blood particles, then since they all outside have to be positive, the stronger is their electric field, the stronger voltage they have, the stronger will be magnetic push. And when you have the magnetic push increasing, they start repelling each from the other. This is why when you take blood of a healthy vibratory being and you put it under the microscope, you will see that the cells are not sticking together. The magnetism and the electric charge that they have repels them. The more repelling you have, the more distance between particles, the healthier is the creature from which the blood was taken, the healthier is the blood on its own. Now why blood on its own? Because you may have a toxic elements in there which do not have the polarity straight. And they serve as resistors. So they basically lower, they suck off the energy. They lower the voltage. And by lowering the voltage, they are diminishing the magnetic field. The weaker magnetic field, the spacing, the repelling is less, and particles get closer and closer. The body polarization is in levels. Since we are positive on the outside, skin has two parts to it, the outside and the inside part. If outside is positive, the inside has to be negative. Now, if the inside part of the skin is negative, whatever is in this plane, which is your blood vessel, your muscles, your connective tissue, on the outside has to be negative so it doesn't stick to the upper layer. So they are divided. They keep their separation. And if blood vessel is negative on the outside, it has to be positive on the inside. Because it is positive on the inside, if the charge is good, if voltage is high, the magnetic field is high, and it does not allow blood particles to come close to it or adhere to it. And this is what makes the circulatory system the perfect conductor, because nothing is touching nothing. It is all suspended in electromagnetic field by action of magnetism. You push one thing and it pushes the other, no resistance. So you push something and the whole blood is moving. You don't need a strong pump to do this. Now, when we cut ourselves, we have injury, artery breaks or blood vessel vein breaks. Now the positively charged blood, first tissue breaks, so it breaks like this, rips apart, positive, negative. So as it rips, the positive particles get to the negative and they keep sticking. The higher voltage you have, the stronger field it is, the stronger magnetic push and gravitational pull you have. So blood particles start getting attracted to the negative charge of the outer layer of the blood vessel, and they cling to it, pop, 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 like magnets. And this is how coagulation and bleeding stops rapidly. So healthier you are, the faster you stop bleeding. This is why a healthy person, healthy individual, forget about corporation. So healthy individual has reasonable voltage. They have somebody pinches you and maybe small artery breaks. Well, as soon as the blood cells roll there to come out, they hit the negative field and they make a magnetic barrier. And you don't bleed. More toxic is the blood, the weaker is electromagnetic potential. The weaker voltage, lower magnetic and gravitational action, which means artery breaks, vein breaks, and blood starts seeping out. There is a very slight repelling and very slight what do you call it? Repelling and adhering. Very slight adhesion. And more blood comes out. So you pinch somebody who is low on energy, or low on voltage, and you leave a mark. This is why you have a people, they can hit themselves pretty hard, and you have a little reddish mark that disappears rapidly. No big deal. And you have people who hit themselves and the whole thing becomes blue and then changes into green and yellow. Why? Because a lot of blood is coming out and takes a long time before the adhesion happens, coagulation takes place. We notice this, that more toxic we are, lower voltage we have, we are low on energy, you are tired, you are low on energy, low voltage. Now, who are people like this? Usually elderly or those with chronic health problems. They are toxic. Toxicity, toxic elements in the blood are resistors. They draw on the energy. So overall, you become low on voltage, low on magnetism. What happens? You draw blood of such a people and you see cells touching each other or getting stuck to one another. No magnetism whatsoever, because the energy is sucked out. No voltage. Elderly people, you will see, even when the heart pumps, you don't see blood flowing with particles distributed. Every time the heart compresses, it shoots out, the particles hit each other, and they come as a group, banging into each other, and they bang into walls of arteries, because there is no repelling going on. Such a blood needs more pressure to go through. Blood pressure increases. Heart has to pump harder. You get enlarged heart. Muscle works harder, gets stronger, gets bigger. This is not a problem, not a disease, but it is a sign that blood is not okay, that your energy levels are not okay. Now when elderly people show up and blood is examined and see that it is clinging together, they are being given medication. And doctors call them blood thinners. We are thinning your blood, implying separating the particles. This is not what happens. They are not taking the resistors out, the toxic material out, to allow normal flow of electricity. They're actually doing the opposite. Every medicinal remedy is a new resistor. But what happens? It prevents the natural process of coagulation through platelets. So now, while the blood is inside of your arteries, it's fine. But what if you are loaded with these anticoagulants and you hit your head a little bit? Or you don't even have to hit it. You miss the step and you land hard. Boom, and everything shakes in your head. Well, usually people that are low on energy, they have acidic, they are low on voltage, they have acidic cells. This is one of the reasons why they are low on voltage. So their membranes are fragile, which means the blood vessels are fragile. And you may have slight rupture of small artery in your brain. And what happens? You have now escaping of blood. You have anticoagulant, so now the blood cannot coagulate, and it keeps coming out and makes a tamponade. It just creates a big lump. After a while, it will finally coagulate and creates pressure on nerve tissue, and you get stroke. So by doing what the doctor will explain you, well, you gotta have this blood thinner because otherwise you will have coagulation happening because of the particles banging in the blood, and you will have coagulation, thrombosis coming in. They can then break loose and they can plug some of the small arteries, creating asphyxia. Asphyxia of the brain also creates stroke. Could be in the heart as well. One and the other will cause a stroke, either in the brain or in the heart. Which one is the most likely to appear? Well, it all depends on general state of your body. If you do not have varicose veins pronounced, most likely you are not going to have problem with thromb, because this is where usually the coagulation starts. Sedentary blood remains, doesn't move, sits. It is out of charge, becomes very toxic, and bingo, coagulates. And now, if by any chance it gets dislodged and goes into circulation, it hits narrow artery, cannot pass through, and blocks it. But this is most likely to happen around the heart, more likely than around the brain. But it could happen. But by giving anticoagulants, we did not resolve the problem. Yeah, okay, you are not going to have coagulant coming, you are not going to have problem with asphyxiation, but you will have the other problem, uncontrollable bleeding, tamponade, and asphyxiation coming in this way. So by trying to prevent one problem, you are creating another. Well, this is not healing. We are just scaring people. Well, if you don't do this, then you will have this problem. But we are not explaining what problem we are creating by giving the medication, because this would not bring us money. Because now if client knows that he is doomed no matter what he does, why to use pill? Actually, what we should do is hydrate and allow cleansing organs to get the resistors out, to get the toxic material out, to re-establish the flow of energy, of electricity. So the blood cells, the cells themselves hydrate, cleanse, re-establish proper acidity, and maintain the proper voltage, no matter what body does. But doctors are not trained in this, because for this we don't need money. This is natural occurring process. All we need is to hydrate correctly and eat correctly, which I show through Self-Healers Protocol. You do that and you heal, and you live healthy. So this doesn't bring money into pocket of doctors, because they have been obsolete, and doesn't bring money in the pocket of pharmaceutical industry. So they don't want truth to be out. Now, why jabbed people have more problem with coagulation of blood? Well, because more resistors are being put. In this jab, you have all kinds of biological garbage, and not only biological. Biological and artificial garbage, which draws energy, serves as resistor. And you are going to have problems. Problems of particles clumping together and possibility of thrombosis. Now, can this be corrected? Of course. Same like with the chronically sick people or elderly. Same with those who are being jabbed. Through jab, you are just being poisoned in very short period of time with huge amount of toxins. But it doesn't matter. If you help your body to cleanse, to eliminate those resistors, then you will re-establish the proper voltage and no problems. You don't have bonding and not separating blood cells. As soon as you permit voltage to rise, magnetic field strengthen, and things repel. And this is proper thinning of blood. And this is the only way you can thin blood. Blood thinners are not blood thinners. They are anticoagulants, tubocurarins. So they should not be used ever. Only in trauma or after certain surgery, like installing stupid stents that nobody needs. We just need healing. And then these stents may cause damages, because now you are losing electromagnetism, you are losing repulsion. And definitely now the cells will be hitting the walls of stent. And damages will occur. So then you put anticoagulants, but only through the process of healing. As soon as everything stabilizes, you stop. But no, we don't stop. You stop, you are not selling anymore. Why would you stop selling something if you have opportunity to sell it? Who cares about health? Well, this is how modern medicine works. So there is no mystic thing involved. There is no production of some spiky proteins that are creating these fibers that are baloney. None of it. Simple energy. Remember, physics. Screw the chemistry. It's here only to confuse us. Because you can prove anything through chemistry. Anything. because the essence of a chemistry, which is based on atoms and atomic values, is fraud. There is no such a thing as carbon with 6 electrons. For electron to exist, it has to be particle. Particles do not exist in quantum field. And if it is particle, then it has, let's say, 6 electrons. Where are these 6 electrons? If this is a core, where are the 6 electrons? Here, 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 or here, 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 or here, 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 here? Where? So we invent things. Well, they are paired, and then 2 are here, and 2 are there, and 2 are there, and 1 is there. Nonsense. Because if it is like this, then every atom would have all the properties same, doesn't matter how many of these same atoms you put together. And this is not what is happening. The property of any element depends on its geometric structure. Has nothing to do with atomic values. This is a fake science. Well, slowly we are waking up to this. And we see it. We just cannot interpret. Now we are saying, first we were saying, well, yeah, this electron is very fast. And it zooms, so it's like almost everywhere in the same place. Well, it's not almost everywhere. It's always in the same place, in every place. Which means it cannot be particle. It's field. And now we know it's auric field, electromagnetic field. That's what those imaginary electrons are. As our knowledge and understanding improves, we will be discovering deeper and deeper hidden things. And there will be no limit. Ultimately, we create by the way we imagine things. And this is why, under microscope, we find things that we have imagined. But from the original quantum point, none of it exists in any other form or shape than shape of vibration, and then depending on the vibration and oscillation between different forms of vibration, you can create geometric images, and according what type of overall geometric form it takes, the brain is programmed to show it to you as a certain property. And again, understanding this correctly, then you realize that colloidal silver is not going to have all the properties of silver until it is until the geometric shape of silver that gives it all the properties is completed. And now we have discovered that it takes at least nano size, micron, for the net to be completed, so the property of the element can be exposed. Again, nothing to do with atoms, nothing to do with oxygen. Water has nothing to do with hydrogen and oxygen. Nothing. Vibration and electromagnetic fields. And you can change the geometric structure through your brain waves, electromagnetic stimulation. And as soon as you change the geometric structure in the water by the way you transmit your thoughts, electromagnetic waves, the properties of water change. You change the boiling temperature, you're changing the level of evaporation, you change the tension of water, everything changes. You can make it healing, you can make it toxic, like a venom. All depends on the structure that you are creating within, what kind of a crystal you are creating in there. Through imagination, through the electromagnetic waves that you are sending. This is why I always say you have to make sure that you structure the water before you drink it. And one of the thoughts always should be health, healing, hydration, love, unity. You put those thoughts in there and you are going to create beautiful, structured water. You do the same with the food. It's mostly water. And you will change it. This is alchemy. And we are all alchemists. We just don't understand it. We are creators, we are alchemists. So going back into coagulation, if you have been jabbed, doesn't matter when, as a baby, get that stuff out of your body, out of the cells. And you can only do it by proper hydration after establishing osmotic cellular hydration. There are many obstacles to it, and this is why I wrote articles about it. I mentioned in a book how we can achieve the proper osmotic hydration. And cells will cleanse. They want resistors out. It's natural that body eliminates what it is affecting resistance. So toxins will go out. But you need hydration on a cellular level, and for this you need proper ionic action. And you need all the elements. And if you don't have them, create them with your mind. So just think about love, hydration, cleansing, and help your body. Again, manifestation, instant manifestation, is tricky and complicated because of our mind. You have to convince your mind. And this is very hard to do, especially once when mind has its own mind, because it was trained to think differently. It knows different truths. This is why through food and through the protocol, I'm shifting your consciousness and trying to understand your body in a different way. And through your body also the reality in which we live. And this way you can convince your ego easier that things are possible in another way. So cleanse, hydrate and cleanse, drink plasma, drink sea salt, not refined, not iodized sea salt. Doesn't have to be Celtic. Celtic is trademark. And as any big corporation, they cheat. I have heard that through many clients that Celtic sea salt often has too much dirt in it because they mix the sea salt with rock salt because it's cheaper. Cheating is happening everywhere, all the time. Fortunately now we are getting out of this predicament where telepathy will take over and nobody will be able to cheat anymore. But until we are there, I'll be careful. Don't look necessarily for Celtic salt. Just look that the salt is sea salt, evaporated seawater, and that it was not manipulated in any way. So it was not iodized, It was not bleached or any way enhanced. Enhancing is always garbage. We are enhancing food and we are eating garbage. Leave it natural. The more natural it is, the healthier it vibrates. Thank you for listening. Until next time, love you all.